grab the northern lights. Baby, you just kick your feet up while I kick back. I roll one with you by my side.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bold, Black, and Addicted to Bravo, because I'm Bold, Black, and Addicted to Bravo. I'm your host, Nyemade, and today we are doing a recap of New Jersey. The season just finished. There's lots to talk about. So we're having a Boardwalk bash, because Jersey is all about their Boardwalk. And I have some awesome guests with me. If you ladies would like to introduce yourselves, we can start with Diana, because you're next to me on my screen anyway.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeide. I am a host, and I have a podcast called Believe in Bravo Besties. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Jeide, Gebbia, and I am a former Jersey girl, so I am looking forward to this recap.
Yeah.
Who's next?
You can go next.
Okay. Hi, I'm Nela. I'm not Black, I'm brown, but I am also addicted to Bravo. You can find me on Instagram at Fix My Life Podcast, where I do weekly free tarot readings for anyone who needs me to tell them what to do with their life. For entertainment purposes only, don't sue me.
Hi, I'm Kalyndee. I'm half of the Housewives Heretics podcast, which I host with my bestie Josh, and cover old episodes of Housewives. And you can follow me on Instagram at Kalyndee.
Yes, and I'll include all of their links below. So as I mentioned, we're talking Jersey. To get us started though, because you know I love to play some games, we're going to do some Jersey trivia, which I feel like Diana has an unfair advantage, but that's okay. We'll go anyway. We can
can we scream out the answer like we were doing last time, or do we have to wait for all of you?
No, let's just scream them out. Or do you want to do?
No, I want to scream it out.
Yeah. All right. Oh, this one's easy. Which region of the U.S. is the state of New Jersey located?
Northeast.
East Coast.
East Coast. What is the capital of New Jersey?
Trenton.
Which is the most populous city in the state?
Oh, Hoboken.
Is it Newark or Camden?
Newark.
Okay.
Which is interesting because I moved to Newark, Delaware, but I used to say Newark, and they're like, that's not how you say it here.
They say it differently.
That's funny because we got a Newark down the road from us.
Is it Newark or Newark?
Newark.
Newark, yeah.
Newark, yeah.
What's the nickname for Jersey?
The Garden State.
Garden State. What is the motto for New Jersey?
Get out of here.
Forget about it. Oh, no, that's New York.
I don't remember.
Liberty and prosperity.
Okay.
Those questions are boring. Okay. What is the rank of the state according to the population density?
18.
It's actually first.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I wouldn't have thought that. What's the state animal for Jersey?
Cheetah.
I was going to say badger.
They wear cheetah print.
Isn't it like a turkey or something stupid?
It's a horse.
Oh,
that's not dumb. That's nice.
Do you know which state has the most diners in the world?
New Jersey?
It does. And which state has the most shopping malls in one area in the world?
Jersey.
Northern Jersey.
Wow. As we know, you build mansions outside of your shopping malls.
Well, how many shopping malls are there in an area?
So many. Sorry. I grew up. I don't know what number, but I grew up, I grew up in Staten Island before we moved to Jersey, but we would go to Menlo Park Mall in Edison, and literally down the road there was Woodbridge. So there's a lot.
7.
Wow.
7 in a 25 square mile radius.
I love a shopping mall.
Is it like parishes? You belong to a certain mall,
I guess
that's
so,
where you have to go.
You have your Target mall. Like my parents right now, like they could either go to Morristown, but Cherry Hill is better.
Do you also have malls where they're like types? Like when I lived in Tampa, there were 2 malls down the road from each other, but one was like a regular mall and one was like upscale mall. With
like Cherry Hill is definitely more of the upscale mall. They've done a lot of work on the Morristown Mall recently, but like Cherry Hill is definitely more of the upscale one.
Wait, so are your upscale malls inside or outside? Because our upscale malls are outside.
So yeah, it's interesting. When I moved to California, like I just recently, like I noticed all the indoor outdoor malls, but everything in Jersey is indoor just because the weather is like, we can't really have outdoor stuff.
Where is the world's longest boardwalk?
Is it
Atlantic
Wildwood?
City?
What did you say? What did you say, Nela?
I said Atlantic City.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
That's crazy. That's the world's longest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
is.
know. I don't think I've walked the whole span of it, so I didn't really.
I guess the other ones are a lot shorter.
I have too. It doesn't seem long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is the where was the first baseball game played?
Where did they have Dolores's charity event? Winnebago, Mandingo, Wendigo.
It was Hoboken.
Oh,
No, I
Did you
think
know
it's
that they
Park
have a
Avenue.
state dinosaur?
What?
everybody has a state dinosaur.
I never knew that. What do you think
Yeah.
is New Jersey's?
A raptor.
Oh, do you
I
kidding?
know there's a dinosaur in Bayville. I forgot his name, but I don't know what kind of dinosaur he is.
It's like a Hadozar. I don't even know what that is, but
Never
Girl,
heard.
where did you get these questions?
I
They
went.
sound like they're from a highlights magazine.
I just Googled Jersey trivia. All right. So now that we're in a Jersey state of mind, let's talk about these ladies. All right. I always, whenever we do the recap, I'm like, what is the best order to go with? Because depending on the season, sometimes you want to go like scene, like, you know, scene by scene, people, or different things. So I like right now, I'm in like a breakdown by relationships and arguments type,
Okay.
because I feel like then we can, go through it that way. So let's start with what kicked things off, which was Marge and Jen. The big reveal. What did you guys think about that?
So I am firmly, and I get a lot of heat for this on my page, but I am firmly Team Jen on this one because there are children involved. Now, if there were no kids involved and like Marge just revealed it, it wouldn't matter to me. But I feel like because she brought it to light, and you can argue that it would have come out regardless. Don't go on a show if you don't want it to come out. But Marge was the catalyst in that situation. And now because she brought that on a national platform, those kids are like never gonna be the same. And also, if we take it back to like the root of it all, if Bill didn't do that, those kids would never be the same. But like, I'm saying from that point on, like Marge had the ability to not reveal that to everyone. And now, like, there's no way her kids can unlearn that. So for that, I was Team Jen.
Yeah, I agree. And it would have, and her reasoning for bringing it out was just so self-serving, because she was saying, I brought it up because Jen was being a hypocrite because her husband cheated and she's forgiven him, and I've cheated and she's called me a whore. But I'm like, it's not, Jen is not being a hypocrite. I have no doubt that every time she called Marge a whore or a slut or anything, in a very subconscious way, she was yelling at the woman that Bill had cheated with. That was very obvious to me.
Yeah.
So when Marge is saying, oh, Jen is being a hypocrite, it's like, no, she's getting all the heat. She's giving you all the heat she wanted to give that woman. And this is all the heat you, Marge, should have received for cheating. And in that sense, it wouldn't have been, it is not the same. So it was not a fair kind of thing. Now, you want to now have Marge wanted to get back, and I agree with Diana. It's kind of like, you don't bring this shit up because they do have small children and it is going to affect them. And for whatever good or bad way, Jen and Bill had made up and moved on. They did. Whether or not it was a healthy way to do it, it's not our marriage, not our clowns, not our circus. They had moved on. So if she was really trying to point out like Jen's hypocrisy, she could have always said it like, bitch, if you don't shut up and stop calling me a hoe, I'm going to tell everybody your husband's business on TV, which I think she was trying to do when she mentioned that Bill would sleep in the pool house. And Jen just never picked up that clue.
Mm. Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, and I think it's unfair too, because Marge is so much smarter than all of them. And so, when she's saying she's dropping hints, it's like the Jackie analogy with Teresa. Like, yeah, you might get it if you're a normal, high functioning person, but Jen's not going to pick up that hint. And she genuinely thinks no one knows, hasn't talked about it or cried about it in years. So why would she ever pick up that hint and think, oh no, she knows about Bill and she's going to say it? No.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with all of you actually. And I've always thought that it wasn't really hypocritical because Jen wasn't the one who cheated. Bill cheated. So it's not hypocritical. And it made sense. Actually, finding out made sense why she was so upset with Marge all the time about it. And yeah, because for me, it's not the same. It's not like when Marge asked about the Louis stuff, because that was already out there. In this particular situation, Marge brought it out, and Marge is the one who put it on the public forum. And it is unfortunate because they do have kids. So I definitely get why Jen is upset. I do think that you shouldn't go on these shows though if you have, like, if there's one thing anyone should know by now is if you have skeletons in your closets, they will come out. Like, if you're gonna get on a show, even if you have old tweets, like hire someone to comb through it and delete it, because they will find it. Anything you have out there, it will be found. So, but it's still okay to be upset at the person who brought it to light. I was glad that Marge talked to her later and like apologized. But then she was also like, oh, the kids will be in therapy, they'll be fine. Like, oh, that's not really empathetic of a reaction. But I thought it was interesting. I like, Kalyndee, that you picked up that Marge is like so much smarter than them, because I mean, they all have their level of intelligence in some ways, not that they're dumb, but I do think it bonds Marge and Jackie. I think that's why they get along so well.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. So did Evan fuck somebody else in the gym? I think he did.
Here's what I think.
I absolutely think he did, because Jackie, again, to Marge's point, if everything was so great, why are you losing your mind?
I think that here's also, I'm a cynic and I tend to think pretty much everyone cheats. So I'm not really the best person to go off of.
Oh no, but you're in good company.
Yeah. I mean, it's statistics, right? Like, it's statistically shown that there's a small percentage of people who will always cheat. They're just cheaters. There's a tiny percentage of people who will never cheat, and you hope you're in that group. And then in the middle are people who make a mistake or have a one-off thing. And I think Evan is very attractive. I think people underestimate like, Evan's really cute. So I do think that if he has all of that going on and he has women throwing themselves at him, and then increase it by being on the show, because there are women who just don't care. And not that there's any excuse for it, but I think that it is probable that he may have slipped up. But I also think that Jackie is one of those people who, unless she has concrete evidence, doesn't want to know and will believe her husband, which I guess you kind of should, right? Until you truly have evidence that your husband's cheating on you, you should trust your husband if he says, no, I didn't. So, but I think she's also intelligent enough. I think that's where the tears come in. I think she wants to be like a Teresa, like, he said he didn't do it, so he didn't do it. I'm going to put my head in the sand. But I think she's smart enough to know that that's not real. So that's why she gets so emotional about it, because she knows.
Yeah, I just think that she should really stop talking about it, because if she would stop, the story would be over, especially this season. She
brought it up every time.
Every time. And so she can't let it die. And it probably is because subconsciously she knows maybe it's true, because their dynamic is so strange too. And for Evan in New Jersey, where it's a very like man-driven society, especially in their group of friends, he married the woman that has more money than him. He married the woman that has a better job than him. You know, she was an attorney. She's very smart. She's very controlling. All of his friends, women, are bowing down to their husbands and making them Sunday dinner and giving them blowjobs. And he is sitting there with a wife that is a top tier woman in this society where that doesn't really happen.
Right. I will say Evan is the smartest of all of the men in that group.
Yeah.
He'd have to be to marry Jackie. Like, there's no way Jackie was marrying like a dum-dum.
Jackie's, I'm not going to talk shit about Jackie. I'd want I mean, other than the cooking part, I totally want Jackie as a wife, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, she's a
She's
badass.
got shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's got her shit handled. And a smart man, a smart, secure man is gonna say, yep, I'm gonna hold her up and do what I need to
Yeah.
do. It's like we're a team.
Even like the way she handles her money, I thought it was so interesting. Like last season when Jen was like critiquing her for not having like the fanciest parties and the things like that. It's like I feel like people forget that people value money differently. And Jackie was like, yeah, we don't have like $10,000 parties, but like we'll take a private plane to go watch this game and get like front row stuff. Like she's about the experience. And quite honestly, that's me and my money too. Like if I fantasize about being mega rich, like that's what I would spend my money on, is those experiences. Like we're going to take a great trip and we're going to do all those things. Like she has a ton of money to do stuff like that. So she doesn't have to flash it new money style with the big house and the parties.
Okay,
but
I will say this. If you have a party for kids and you don't have food for the adults, that's not about flashing money. That's about you and something else. Because do not invite me to your house with a bunch of snot-nosed kids and not feed
She definitely should have gotten a party planner and done that party a lot better. But I do think like overall,
it's just a couple extra pizzas at Costco and a salad. That's not being a resource.
It's not.
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting because I think a lot of new money people feel like you have to constantly flash it and show it. And like, I want to be as like the type of rich where like you don't flash it and show it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I just want to be rich. I don't give a fuck. I'll come with it. I don't give a fuck.
Dorinda said, I think it was like money screams, wealth whispers.
Yeah.
Then why is Dorinda always yelling?
There's a question.
I'm not a Dorinda fan.
So speaking of the Jen and the Jackie of it all, what did you guys think about Jackie's argument with Dolores? First of all, I have to admit, I missed some of the Jersey seasons because I really can't deal with Teresa. So I've missed some of the Jersey seasons, but I've never seen Dolores that turned, like where people are like, Frank, calm her down. And Frank was like, I've seen her get in fights. So like that fight with her and Jackie was intense for me. Like, what did you guys think?
The one at the bar where she was having the party?
Because Jen told Jackie, or Jackie told Jen that Dolores wasn't being a loyal friend because she was better friends with Marge.
I would say that is something you would never say to someone like Dolores, because Dolores her whole character is about being steadfast, loyal, 10 toes down, no matter what. And if she does not have that, if anybody questions that, then that's questioning her entire being. So I would have lost it too.
I also feel like Dolores is like the internal pressure cooker is like snapping, because look at the reunion. I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but she wasn't invited to Teresa and Louis' engagement party, and that's supposed to be her very good friend. Granted, there's like issues with Dina there, but I think there's a lot because of Dolores's true Italian New Jersey, like we don't air out other people's dirty laundry. I think she was just tired of it. And it's like in her head, she knows she's loyal and she's like, there's like a bunch of things she could spill about everyone else, but she's not. And I think this was just her snapping and her breaking point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sidebar, I thought it was really interesting. These scenes, there were a few scenes throughout the season where it is Dolores going off on somebody and Teresa is nowhere around.
Yeah.
And they're the most interesting scenes of the whole season. We don't need Teresa in everything. They shot themselves in the foot by centering everything around Teresa, because she's really not that necessary. And the scene with Jackie and Dolores prove that.
Yep. No, I think you could, because there's a lot of people, and we'll get to Teresa. There's a lot of people who like say like, oh, there would be no show without Teresa. And I don't think that's true. No. I think that we would no longer have a show centered around Teresa.
Yeah.
But we could absolutely have a show without Teresa. All of the women are arguing amongst themselves. If anything, Teresa just throws in a terrible dynamic. Like she has these arguments. She doesn't want to listen to people. And it's crazy to me that people are so okay with tiptoeing around her and being like, that's just how she is. And on one level, I kind of get it because they've been lifelong friends and it's hard to throw overboard a lifelong friend versus like a newer friend. But there's like, to be like, oh, I just know that's how she is and accept that behavior in a friendship is not how I roll. Like, we just couldn't.
Yeah. Well, I think
be
there's a
friends.
difference when you say she's my lifelong friend. I know how to deal with this because this is our dynamic, as opposed to me saying, now you as a brand new person in this group have to also accept that dynamic. That's where I think there's a disconnect. If you
Well, it's
want
just
to be
annoying
that way
because
with your
they'll-
friend, fine, but don't expect other people to tiptoe around your
Right.
friend in the same way, because it's not the same.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's just annoying because like they'll even acknowledge that her behavior is wrong, but they'll be like, we know that in order to be friends with her, we have to accept her bad behavior, and that's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
And most people
And
are going to say no.
And basically that's saying, if you want to be on this show, you got to put up with her shit.
Basically.
Yeah, which is bullshit.
Which Marge and Jackie won't, which is why I love Marge and Jackie. And
Yeah.
But Jackie's getting demoted to a friend. And I think, I'm not saying the show could not go on without Tree, because I do love Tree. I think she brings it. I think this last season was terrible and she didn't even show up for work. And she's really taking a backseat because of Louis. But I think we would just have to do a new cast. Like, Melissa has no point without Teresa. She and Joe should not be there. You know what I mean? Like, you would really just shake it up. Have Marge there, that's fine. Have Dolores there, that's fine, and bring some of their friends. But there's no reason to have Melissa. There's no reason really to have Jackie.
see, I like Melissa. I've always been a Melissa fan anyways, because I don't think that everybody has to be, because it's interesting. I think like with all the series, whenever there's someone who's not like crazy with the dynamics, people are like, why are they there? I'm like, because you need some settling people. Like, you need the people who are like the fun time. Like, to me, Melissa and Joe are more like the fun time couple. Like, I enjoy their laughing and I enjoy their banter and stuff. And when they are, having fun, and they do get into fights sometimes. And Melissa got into it with Jen last season and this season. So I think as long as you keep Jen there, who Jen, I'm not a huge fan of, but I am a fan of her being a part of the cast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I personally, she annoys me, but I do think she's good for the show. And so I feel like if you got rid of, like, the problem with Teresa, even though I said we're going to wait
could be
to
an
talk
entire
about
2
Teresa,
hours.
Yeah.
is that like there is no accountability on her part ever. And I used to love Teresa, like back in the day, because she was fun. She was a good time. But like, there is no accountability. And the thing that always used to bug me with her is like, I couldn't quite tell if it was from like a manipulative point or just like a dumb point where she truly just didn't see and didn't get it. And I still kind of go back and forth on it because I thought it was like, oh, she just isn't all there. She just doesn't get it. Yeah. But then when they were doing like the season, like one of the first episodes at the party, she admitted that she knew the stuff about Louis. But when they asked her, she was just like, what are you talking about? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm like, so you do it on purpose sometimes. Like, you do purposely act like you don't know when you truly do know, because you play into that. So it's annoying to me because she can never see her, like, where she's wrong in things. And even when she apologizes, it's like, well, this, but this. And like, she doesn't get how when she does something wrong, there's anything wrong with it, but she can always see when other people do something wrong.
Right. And I think that's because of the way she was raised, because her and Joe Berger are actually the exact same. And I don't think that her line for Louis or her line for Joe Giudice back in the day is her trying to be manipulative. I think that's her being loyal. That's what you do. Yeah. You don't ever call them out. And so
that part,
calling her a C word on camera, she's like, no, we're happy, we're fine, love, love, love. Because that's what you do. And that's the loyalty she expects from her brother. And that's the loyalty that her brother expects of her. And they can never give it to each other.
Mm-hmm. They don't. But I do think Joe gives it to her more, don't you think? And even like the whole, at the reunion, calling him like a bitch boy, like she was like, I didn't say anything bad. And then 10 minutes later, she's like, well, that's why I called you that, because you don't stand up for me. It's like, you do it. And like, for me, if I'm someone who preaches loyalty the way Teresa preaches loyalty, like, there is not a time in this world you could stand in front of me and say that about my brother. Like, the fact that she's so good with like with Jen saying that about her brother, like, I don't care how mad I am at my brother or sister, you can't talk about them around me. Right. Like, I may drag you for filth behind closed doors, but you are not going to stand in front of me and call my brother that and say that about my brother. And Teresa has always been okay with that. And that has been my issue. She wants their loyalty so badly, but she has never given it to them.
I
Yeah.
think
Nope.
there's an issue, like being full-blown Italian, like from Jersey. We're stubborn people. And there's a lot of the mentality that like it's my way or the highway, right? And that's something that's kind of a generational curse I've been trying to break with my family. So I think that gets in the way of their relationship, whereas they both want loyalty. Whereas you, Nyemade, said that like no one could talk about your siblings like in front of you. I think they both feel that they're like when other people are talking about their siblings, they're like, yeah, well, they are acting like that, and like my way is the best way. So that's why there's a bit of a pass there for that. I feel like they're not mentally, like emotionally mature enough
Mm.
to understand what loyalty should be in a healthy sense. So
Mm.
it's a very warped view of it. I struggled with Teresa this season. I used to be a Teresa stan as well. I really thought this was going to be her last season. Again, I got a lot of heat for saying that on one of my videos.
But it should be.
But it should be, because it
Yeah.
comes a point where it's no longer fun for the viewer to watch, right? Take the scene when Jackie did the team building, not Jackie, Tracy did the team building thing.
Not poor Tracy. Fuck Tracy.
I don't
I'm
even
glad
have
she's
Tracy
on the
written
video
down. That's
before.
how unfortunately non-relevant she was this season.
Oh my God, I couldn't even remember her. And then Teresa just showed up and she clearly was not in the mood. And we as fans enabled her all these seasons to get away with that.
Yep.
And now it's just like, I think she needs a swift kick in the butt and a taste of reality. And look what happened to Vicky Gumbelson. Like, I feel like nobody's safe on Bravo, no matter what kind of relationship
Nobody
you
should
have
be
with
safe
Andy.
They
on Bravo
shouldn't be.
ever.
Yeah. They shouldn't be. And I do think that there was a lot of scenes, and that's for me also why, because I don't have to like everyone on these series. I can, like, as a viewer, step away and be like, I don't like this person, but they're good for the dynamic. Like,
Mhm.
you need a villain. Like, I watched Orange County this year, and Noella was annoying AF, but she's good for the cast. So
But was she the villain? She wasn't the villain in my mind. But
I
talk about that
agree.
later.
We'll
She
talk
was
about-
not the villain.
I agree.
I have a thing about like blatant liars, and she's a blatant liar.
Yeah, that-
And so I can't, but we could talk about that some other time. Maybe we'll do, no one else it didn't seem like a lot of people are really watching, so I didn't really do a recap of it, but maybe we'll
That's
get
fine.
together and do one. But yeah,
Well, you
so
were
like
saying
I can
some-
step aside, I can step outside of like my like of a person and be like, they're good for the show, but I don't feel like Teresa gives that. Like, I think there's so many times where she comes and it messes up the mood of it. I think she doesn't want to talk about certain things, which you're on a show. Like, this whole thing of like, I'm so mad at Marge for bringing this up. Like, you're on a show, it's in the blocks, you have to talk about it. You can't be on a show and say, I don't want to talk about this and I don't want to talk about that, and then I'm not in the mood to do this. Like, I think on some level she's over it, and maybe she doesn't need to be gone forever. Maybe she just needs a break, but either way, I think it needs to be her last season for a little while. Like, maybe she needs to be a friend of, she should be a friend of for a while. Like, pop in here or there, give us fun, Teresa. Hey, Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
Hello. How are you guys? Sorry I'm late.
It's all right. Thanks for joining.
Earlier, you guys have been talking about the dynamic between Joe and Melissa, and it's a classic example of this dysfunction amongst families called enmeshment, when you are enmeshed with each other. So basically saying, my happiness is dependent on your actions and vice versa. And that is something that I see it in my family, in a lot of immigrant families, in that sense that we are here in it together, and we have to be so bonded as a group that we keep each other safe. Unfortunately, people don't unlearn that once they have a sense of like stability and safeness. So when that whole Teresa is always going to be the big sister. She is never going to let Joe forget he's the little brother. And she says it all the time. He's my little brother. He's my little brother. He's my little brother. So I'm very sure that the reason she hated Melissa so much is that Melissa came in to marry the brother and says, you're not my big sister. I already got 3 of those somewhere else. So fuck you. And Teresa could never handle it and never got over it.
Yeah.
Ever.
Ever.
So that's unfortunately is very indicative of the fact that Teresa cannot grow as a person. I don't care how many times she sits her ass and namaste her day away. She is not a Zen person. She is not aware. She has no clue about how her actions really do affect other people.
Yeah, I agree.
And the Louis thing, my theory is she does know about all the things and purposely chooses not to give them any merit, because if she does, then she has to break up with him and give up the romantic idea of I met the perfect man as soon as I broke up with my ex-husband. So nobody can call me a hoe and say I dated all of these men and they were all failed relationships. I went from one to the other without any kind of sully. It's such a Madonna horror complex. It drives me mad.
I think she very, very, very much cares about her appearance and how things look. I know we weren't even supposed to be on Teresa yet, but it's hard not to get into it.
Right?
So,
Can
Lauren,
I just hop in on that?
You're here, Lauren, can you introduce
hey.
yourself? Tell people about you, and then give us your views.
Absolutely. Hey, my name's Lauren. I'm never on Clubhouse anymore, but it was Lady Lauren. But you can find me on TikTok, and you can find me on Instagram. I am a logistics onboarding specialist by day and Bravo fanatic for the rest of my life. And so it takes up most of my time. And so I think that's why I'm here. I love Bravo. I love it when you invite me to do these shows with you. It makes me feel super special. And I'm glad I'm here because it's clearly someone's got to ride for Trey. And
no, Kalyndee's with
that.
you. She's
with you.
Okay. I was
you.
seeing you smiling. I just felt like, dang, that's a lot, especially with those little Gorgas. We know their history. So like, let's not pretend they're innocent in this. In fact, they should again be thanking Teresa every day. But, we can get into that later. Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts? Because we were just talking about the dynamic with like Teresa and her demanding loyalty from Joe, but not giving it back, and her being okay with people like insulting Joe, but not wanting, and her insulting Joe, but then, saying like she wants him to defend her all the time.
Well, I think Joe himself is insulting. He's a walking, clown. And so I think it's pretty easy to do that. I don't think it's a hard sell. But I also feel like Teresa, despite her faults, if we think that Joe Gorga is bad and vomitable, hard to palate, non-palatable now, do you know what she is covering for Joe Gorga to make him even tolerable? So I think what she's asking is, please don't instantly go in the next scene and talk shit about me to Marge. I really don't appreciate that. I don't think she's playing for undying loyalty, but I think she also knows that Joe and Melissa love to play the fence, and it's pretty quick for them to, start running that mouth. I never really see them be like, guys, let's change the subject. I don't think I've ever seen that in any season they've ever been on. So I don't know what undying loyalty there. I don't know. I think it goes both ways.
Yeah, I agree. I think it does. I do think that again, because I'm more of a Gorga fan, I have seen times where they're like, let's try to table this. And then I think they also gave up because they're like, she doesn't do it for us either. I definitely think Melissa, more than other seasons this season, was like, fuck Teresa, and just said what she wanted to say. That was very
absolutely.
Apparent. But I mean, I feel like I would be the same way too. I think that
Jennifer saying you have no storyline and we never saw one, she had to do something this season. So it might as well show how she really felt about Teresa. And I think what's also really telling is the Teresa that we got to see on the Ultimate Girls Trip versus the Teresa that we see with her castmates. I think that is a level of hostility and intenseness that I don't know if I want, but what I did really appreciate was that Teresa and Melissa were both very honest this season on, I don't really fuck with you. And I never really have.
Yes.
And I'm glad that facade is over. Like I'm kind of excited about that. It made me kind of wish like, damn, Melissa, you really didn't have to leave that place in Nashville because Teresa was out of pocket. That would have been embarrassing. But
it's more than like when Teresa says loyalty. I think that it comes down to she expects her brother and her to be able to say, when you're family, you can say whatever you want about each other. It doesn't matter. You still forgive each other and you still come around. You still go to family, a Sunday dinner. And I'm not saying that's correct because that is very toxic.
Yeah.
But that's what they expect from each other.
Yep.
And I think that when he got with Melissa, she's the one that was like, no, that's disrespect. We're not going to family dinner. We're not doing this. We're going to separate. And that's what she never got over with Melissa.
Yeah, I would agree. So with the whole Gorga, the Joe thing and the defending stuff, we saw Jen and Melissa get into it in Jersey at the shore because of the comments that Jen made about Joe and his business and the little bitch boy and all of that. And that scene got intense. I was surprised that Melissa jumped up, but it's weird because when Jen first came on the scene, I felt like they were going to be friends. They seemed like they would be friends. And then they just kept getting in these like arguments and fights. And like, it kept getting like, I guess more handsy. I don't know. It's weird. It seems like Jen really triggers Melissa. Because I feel like those are the times we really
love to see it.
Jumping
I love
up.
to see it.
Yeah.
Okay, Jennifer's my favorite. I should have prefaced with that, but I love to see it. I love her. It's a deep love, and it's been from the beginning. It hasn't been since this season. It's been since season 1. I'm from Oklahoma, and I value her. I appreciate her just for that because I'm from there. I get it. Okay, let's be honest, right?
And Nela, you're a Jennifer lover too.
I loved her the first time she put out a buffet of food. Like any woman that can cook like that, I will go above and beyond to find a reason to forgive them.
I'll tussle for her.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's because it's like, even though they're Turkish, I understand that family dynamic so well. Parents that have been together for years and years and years, even though they should have left each other, like, just the way she covered for her husband, the way she's with her kids, everything else. I mean, in a real way, I was brought up to be that woman.
Same.
Right. Luckily, I also had women in my family that said, you don't have to do that. I mean, we're going to teach you how to do it. So if you want to do it, you can do it, but don't do that.
Yeah.
So
Diana, you love her too?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I agree that she takes the Gorgas down. Like, in this season, it's very hard because, as I mentioned before, I was a Teresa stan. Not that I always hated Melissa, but they weren't my favorite. And I think that because Teresa is so outrageous, as you mentioned before, Lauren, the Gorgas aren't innocent. And I think people tend to overlook that just because Teresa's always doing the most. But I like that Jen is the one, like our key player in this fight, to go and target Melissa. And there has been some shady dealings. I mean, look at Joe's construction business, and she's calling all that out. So I really appreciated Jen.
Remember when he had a shredding business and then he had a restaurant?
Yes.
And then
he's a serial entrepreneur, guys.
Hey guys, just remember season 1 when he used to spray his hair.
Yes.
Oh.
If that's not, that tells us
thing,
everything we need to know.
True.
Also, like, let's not sleep on how they got that house for their first season on Jersey. We really can't.
Please tell me.
We really can't. It was the Gorgas parents. Remember how he would always say, "You stole my parents' house," blah blah blah. They refinanced and foreclosed their house so Melissa and Joe could have a mansion for their pop-up season of Real Housewives in New Jersey. So please, when they talk about the parents and the stress, I mean the downsides and everything, just for baby Joe.
They weren't completely innocent. I will say with Jen, I really enjoy, I know you guys don't like Melissa, but Melissa recently said something that really resonated with me, which is that like Jen is kind of annoying because the Jen she is like when they're together, when they're recording or whatever, versus the Jen she is at the reunions. It's almost like she puts on like an act to be like this person at reunions. And I kind of felt that way too. Because I enjoy Jen. I like her. The only thing I don't like about her is the inbred misogyny. However, being a child of an immigrant and an immigrant myself, I get it. Like, like Nela was saying, like I was raised to be that way, like to cater to your husband and to your family comes first. And like, luckily my mom, as much as she kind of raised me on those values, also raised me to think for myself. I don't think she thought I'd go as far with it as I did. I don't think she was quite expecting me to become the outrageous woman I did, but sorry.
Give it up for immigrant moms.
Yes.
Immigrant moms.
Yay, immigrant moms. Luckily, I have a younger sister and she's gone the traditional route. So my mom still has like the daughter married with the grandkids. I'm like, thank you, Judy.
Oh, great.
Because it's not going to be me. But
no, all my brothers and sisters did too.
Exactly.
I'm always cool, mom, right?
So like for that reason, I feel like I get it, even though it bugs me sometimes. I get it. So I can like be like, because I really didn't like the slut shaming of Marge and the things like that. I wish she was better, but I get why she's not. So overall, I don't really think that she's like a villain, but that's why I think she's great for the show, because she does cause the fights. She does say the things. She does do things that I don't like, but there's not anything that I find so egregious that I don't enjoy her on the show. I do think she plays it up for the reunions. Which is kind of, but I don't know, because that's good TV, right? Like that is that her doing her job?
It's the Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl.
Right. And she gets that.
And they get to come back and see all those confession tapes, and she just comes with it. I'm sorry, I just feel like you can perform all season, but you've got to be able to give it at the reunions. You know who can't give it at the reunions? Melissa, Teresa, and Marge either. They're like, I said it first. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Well, yeah, I did. I did. That's all you're giving versus
and I
Jennifer
do see, like,
giving me lines. You know, I love that.
It's funny because part of me wants to be like, well, her and Teresa, they're both like, that traditionalist, that mom stuff, like that's why they get along. But at the reunions, you really do see like how intelligent Jennifer is as well. Like, she just gets kind of cast in being like, oh, a housewife. She's not. Jennifer is like on it.
No, Jennifer is quick. She is smart. She does. Everybody else feels like they have rehearsed lines, and Jennifer is really going off the cuff. She's like, Jennifer is as close to the wittiness of the women in Atlanta as anybody else, because she's really thinking and taking it all in. So I don't think she's putting it on for the reunion so much as it's
taking her moment.
It's intensified.
True.
Because with the show, what are they saying? You're using 40 hours of video to make one 40-minute show, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in a reunion, you get 10 hours and it's really them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I do have a question though, because as I mentioned, liars are one of my major pet peeves. Like I don't ride for it. Because I mean, everyone tells little white lies, but then there's like blatant lying. I can't stand that because I feel like that's like, it's dangerous too, especially now where you can just put stuff out there and like people don't care about facts. As long as like what you say supports what they think, they'll run with it. So I thought it was interesting, that fight with Jen and Dolores at the reunion. And Dolores was like, you're lying about that phone call. Like, first of all, whose side are you guys on with that? And what do you think about that? Because they are no longer friends, that's for sure.
I'm side Frank is a fucking liar.
Yes, absolutely.
Frank is a fucking liar.
I was going to say, when you were talking about the misogyny, I was going to say, when are we going to get to we could talk about the husbands, because
trust me, I have them listed. We're going to break down the men.
But I think that they gossip. Of course, we all know they gossip more than the ladies. Okay. I think that Frank was running that mouth. I think he did. It's on film, him saying that about seeing the girl seeing a picture of her, and yet he tried to put it on Jen. And I think that is the reason why things unfolded. I think that, bless Dolores's heart, I don't know why she wants to continue this friendship with someone who he gives me a vibe I punched holes in the walls kind of situation. So
disrespect.
And just disrespect, and I do think that he is the liar. I think that Dolores is trying to save face, and I think that's why they're in the situation they're in now.
It's so funny because that's not even the scene I was talking about, but that is a good one as well. So I was talking about where they were talking about Dolores telling Jen not to cry, And then Dolores was like, we had a conversation prior
Oh,
where
Oh.
I said like, be strong, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then this scene, you told me to tell you, remember, don't cry. And I come off looking bad. And then Jen was like, that's not true. We didn't have that. And then Dolores was like, you're lying. And so that was the one, but in the frank of it all too. But I think it's all both together are part of why they're having issues.
I think they could have had that phone call and she was like, I'm going to support you and I'm going to tell you, keep it tough, don't cry. But I think, I'm sorry, Dolores, you could have said, don't cry in a different way. Your delivery was trash. They can't edit that. And that's on you. Sorry.
That's
Yeah.
true.
But
Kalyndee,
there's
what do you
been a
think
lot of
about
situations where I've been with friends of mine and I'm all like, keep it together. Keep
Yeah.
it together. Don't look like a bitch right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think
Mhm.
that's what just Dolores was trying to say. It's like, you start
Mhm.
crying in front of these women, you're going to be the bitch.
Right.
Don't
Exactly.
be the bitch. And
But to be
unfortunately-
friends with Marge at the same time, it was like, yeeks. Like, it did look like optics. It just didn't come off right.
Yeah.
And that's, it just is what
Well,
it
that's
is.
because it's hard to be friends with two people who are battling. And I have
Yeah.
lots
Mhm.
of thoughts on that, but I won't go into all that right now.
Yeah,
But
but that is part
Very
of the
hard.
situation. Is like she is trying to be friends. And
You really
It's
can't.
hard.
You literally
it's
cannot.
one thing when the people
You
are
d-
just
you don't
like
think so?
slightly annoyed with one another. But if you're trying to be
Right.
friends with two people that legitimately detest each other, there are no winners.
The only way in my mind that you can be friends with two people who really don't like each other is if you have them both agree to not talk to you about the other person.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there is no way to loyally do it because
No.
there's no way I'm going to think, like, if I find out, like, if I'm friends with Diana and Lauren, right? And Lauren is talking crap about me or about, wait, hold on, let me get this. If I'm friends with Lauren and Diana and they are talking crap and I'm sitting here listening to Lauren talk shit about Diana, I'm being a bad friend to Diana. But at the same time, if I go to Diana and I say, hey, Lauren said this about you, now I'm being a bad friend to Lauren. Like, there's no way you can be a good friend to both people if they're talking crap about each other. The only way to do it is to say, don't talk about the other person to me. And most people don't, because your friend wants to vent to you. So,
But that's in
Right.
real life, not in reality life where you
you have to. Right. It's different on reality TV.
You have to talk
Kalyndee, what were you going to say?
and film with each other.
Yeah.
So they have to be around each other. I was gonna say, I think that it's just like that example. I think it's about perception too. Like if the phone call could have been about a lot of other things too. And Jen is so emotionally overwhelmed, and the part where Dolores is consoling her is a small part of it. She could have not, like fully known what she was talking about. Because just like you said, like if you're friends with Lauren and Diana and Lauren's talking about Diana to you, she'd be like, we talked about this, even if you don't say anything, like you're still part of it. So
right.
And I'm also one of those people, like, I know it sounds bad, but actually, no, it doesn't sound bad. I stand by this. I'm one of those people where, like, if you're coming to me and you're telling me what people are saying about me all the time, my question is, why do they feel comfortable talking shit about me to you? Because the people that I ride for, not like none of you in this group, someone could come and talk shit about you to me. And I would be like, oh, really? Let me go tell them. Like, because I'm either going to check you in the moment or I'm going to go back and tell them what you said. So don't talk about them to me. And I think it takes something for someone to feel comfortable, especially multiple times. Okay, like once, maybe they don't know. Maybe they didn't know. But for them to keep talking about you and you keep going back, I'm like, there's a problem there with us now at this point.
Right.
Unless you're playing the long game and you're telling your friend, hey, go find out what this bitch is saying about me. That's a different situation.
That is different. I mean, in my
that's
younger
an
years,
exception. That's
in my
not
younger
the rule.
years, I
That's
would
the
do that.
exception.
Yeah. Or if I was on a TV show trying to stay on the show. Right.
I just think it all comes back to the Jersey mentality, which again, as someone who has lived there as many years as I did, and now moving across the country to a different place, like I see how like you guys might think like, oh, they might be lying or whatever, or like the thing with loyalty. And I'm like, no, that's just the way life is there. Does that excuse it? Absolutely not. But that's kind of what I love about this show the most, because it gives people a peek into our lives there. And it's just a very different, like, it's a different breed, for lack of a way to put it. And again, it doesn't excuse it, But now you
Right.
can see, like, I feel like everyone's watching my fucked up family, which my family is
Yeah.
not fucked up. I love them.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Like that's what I love about these shows. I feel like they give you a peek into the region. So like
Yeah.
like you said, like the way the loyalty is and the brain stuff and like family is in Jersey. And then like, let's say Atlanta, the way they can throw shade
Yeah.
and like call
Oh.
each other names and say crap and then laugh it off. And versus like if some like just one conversation in Atlanta happening in Beverly Hills would be a whole
Never.
season of argument.
Right.
Never.
Versus in
Right.
Atlanta, it's like
could
Can you
never.
imagine
after
if
shade after shade,
somebody
and they
had
just move on.
accused Kyle of sucking dick in a locker room?
right.
It would have just imploded.
Oh
It would have
my
been the
God.
whole season. The whole
Yeah.
season would be
The
that
whole
one
season.
comment. But in Atlanta, they're like on to the next. So it's very, I like that about the housewives. You see like just
Yeah.
how different areas are. So Dolores recently said something, because I want to talk about Louis and Teresa and Marge of it all. Because Teresa's major issue with Marge was that Marge wasn't being a good friend by talking about it. But Marge was trying to say it's out there, just have him. And that's the thing, like if she had just let her answer, like if she had just had him answer the questions, it would have, like, they could have moved on to something else. But because she made it this huge thing, and I get, because of the whole loyalty thing, what Teresa is saying from her viewpoint. But at the same time, it was out there. Like it was out there. And Marge was saying, just acknowledge it so we can move on. But go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, my thing with that is Marge and Teresa have always had not like a rocky relationship.
Right. She wasn't the one who should have brought it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was also the way that Marge was bringing it up. She didn't phrase it as like, Louis, I want you to clear your name. So part of me thinks that it was a little bit strategic, and that was her trying to save face at the reunion. Was
Yeah.
there part of her that might have wanted to have him clear his name? Sure, but I don't believe for a second that Marge was completely innocent in bringing up Louis's dirty laundry.
No, I think she knew that it would make good TV. I think that she's strategic like that. I do think that it's not all her fault though, because again, I think it was already out there.
Right.
I think it's crazy that Teresa is just like freaking out about the talk. Like it was going to be talked about anyways.
Yeah.
And I do understand though on the level of like being concerned about your friend.
Yeah.
But there's also a level where you just kind of have to let your friend live that life. And if the friend knows the stuff is out there, and that's what I was saying, Dolores said something like, listen, it is what it is. Teresa's made her choice. What's the worst that could happen? I mean, we know, right? Unfortunately, part of why I think people don't want to let it go is based on his past history. What's the worst that could happen? He could take all her money, or he could physically hurt her.
Yeah.
And people are really worried about that. But at the same time, clearly she doesn't want to listen. So why are we still like, we've set our concerns.
Yeah.
Now you're an adult, and it is what it is. And the more that they push her, the more she digs in. Teresa is really one of those people where like she will dig in deeper and deeper and not come to anybody for help, because now on top of knowing she's wrong, she would have to admit to other people she was wrong. And she's not going to want to do that.
And I think to your point, Marge was the only person that could bring this up on TV, because Jen wasn't going to do it. Dolores wasn't going to do it. Melissa might have, but she didn't want to catch that heat from doing it. Jackie might have, just because of the shit Teresa pulled with the other rumors on Jackie, but it was really Marge. And I really, in this kind of sense, that I really see that this was production pushing Marge to do this, because they knew Teresa will spiral out of control.
And boy, did she.
And that's why I think that I think after a while, Marge would have been like, whatever, but Marge is playing along with production and bringing it up. So to make Teresa lose her mind. And she did.
And she did.
And the thing is, it is out there. People were talking about it. It wouldn't have been on TV unless Marge said it. And the thing is, again, if Teresa did have him talking about this stuff, then she would have to acknowledge, I am dating a man that has abuse in his past. And what does that say? Then that would have had to bring up all sorts of dirty laundry of, I am a woman that has been in abusive relationships and I need to deal with it. But instead of dealing with it, I'm just going to be in my love bubble.
Again, that's
all right,
the
Teresa's
Jersey
stance.
mentality. Like, I really think that's also why Teresa has to take such an alpha dog position with these women, because she cannot do that in her relationships with men.
Right. And that goes back to the immigrant mentality that we've all brought over from our various motherland countries, which I think is interesting.
And why some of us are still single.
Yes. But I think it's interesting that, like we have like the Italians and Mexicans and Africans, but we all like immigrants mentality is still like we ride for our men.
Patriarchy all over the world.
All over the world. Thank you, colonialism.
Fuck off.
But do we find it odd that Louis' exes are moving to Jersey and that they've been in clubhouse rooms with us and we know that they're the ones on the blog?
Toxic.
I would love to see one of them.
Listen, how much of a piece of shit is he that all of these women are joining together, and they were joining together before he was dating Teresa, to literally bring his shit to light. Like,
right, because it's not just that he's a jerk. It's like beyond that. It's beyond that, and I think domestic violence charges are very hard. And I've talked about
there are actual charges.
Allegations. Thank you. The domestic violence alleged domestic violence allegations are very hard to deal with because it's one of those things where those people tend to be very charming. Like my stepdad, because I've talked about it on my platform before with my childhood.
Bombing.
Like, they love bomb you, and they tend to be very charming to other people. People think that like, people who are domestic violence and have those things are mean people to everyone, but they're usually the opposite. They're usually like the most charming, and that's what helps them get away with it more, is that they don't see it, like other people don't see it. And so they're able to get away with it. All of their
exes are crazy. It's not them. All their exes are crazy. They're normal. It's them. They did this.
Mm-hmm. So Kalyndee and Lauren, what do you guys think about their relationships and how Teresa's handling this, and what are your views?
It's how she was raised. She went to jail for her ex, and then even after that, and after losing her mom, and she was still paying his legal bills to file appeals all the way to the Supreme Court. That's who she is. And she's going to ride for her man, and he charmed her. So she really did think that he was going to come on the show and charm everyone. And so I think she was caught off guard by Marge, and she knew there was rumors, but that wasn't her friend. Marge did it to be dirty. She did not do it because she cared. And it's her job. Absolutely. I understand. But I think that's what makes her even more mad, is you're not coming as my friend. So I think they have all these conversations off camera, especially Marge, because she's got the time and she knows everyone's secrets. And so I think if Dolores would have come to Tree and said, look, it's going to be talked about, so let me bring it up to you and say, have you and Louis talked about this, and this, and let Tree get on top of it, it would have been completely different. I'm not saying they deserve that, because Louis, it seems like a piece of shit hole breaker every day. And so, but yeah, I think that's why her fury, she's going to stand her man, her dad, her brother, always the man.
Yeah.
No, I think people can, I hate to say that Louis semi-charmed me until like the very last episode of this season. And then I felt like I got kind of like a spark. But I don't actually think he's like a monster. I just don't. I want to see, I've read the blogs, right? I want to see those charges. Otherwise it's hearsay. And I truly say believe victims, but I also think look at victims' track records. And I'm sorry, that Vanessa chick, I have talked to her so many times on Clubhouse. I'm telling you, crazy. That's not
but it's not just her though, right? Like if it was
crazy.
I'm not
finished. So then this is I'm just going for motives here. It may not be all of the exes, but like, why is that ex dating Dolores' ex? Like, why is that happening? That seems, why is she moving to Jersey? I feel like maybe some bad things happen. This is the same one with the video. This is also the same woman who's giving the same claims. I'm not saying don't believe victims. I totally affirm in that, but I also know that opportunists are opportunists. And I think that Teresa, unfortunately, I also think Louis could put it down with those pineapples, dude. It's not just loyal, dude. I think she's stigmatized. Yeah, I think
Might be.
she's learned it. I
think she's
learned and
love
felt some
bombed and
things.
digmatized.
Yeah, I think
Listen,
she's learned and felt things that she's never felt before. I don't know if she even wrote for Juicy Joe like that. I'm telling you, she's in a bubble. She's in a
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want her bubble blocked. At the end of the day, I hope we're all wrong. Like, even as much as Teresa bugs me, at the end of the day, I want him to be good for her. I want him to love her. I want him to make her. I hope we all come back like 5 years from now. We're like, we were so wrong. Look at how happy they are. Like, I would love
I want that.
Yeah.
I want them to be like happy, and I want her to be like, oh, Louie, I love you, and him with the girls, and it works out and it's beautiful. I mean, she's been through a lot.
She has been through so much. I will say that, like, as much as I'm like, oh, Teresa, I always say I respect her so much because she has been through so much, and to still keep her head out high, like,
she put herself through that shit. She saw her husband calling her a cunt.
Okay, but still, she went to jail. She lost both of her parents. She's been through a lot. Like, as just a human going through shit, like
I will give you that. She is a human going through shit, but she is no better human and doesn't deserve better happiness than anybody else.
I
don't think that. I just want
from the
happiness.
moment she jumped on TV and spent $2,000 in hair bows in cash, that's who she is. That's who she is.
Yeah, it's true.
And I love it.
She said, and I love it. So go full circle. We started talking about Marge and Bill and Jen. Well, we talked about Marge and Jen of it. So I want to end it talking more about Jen and Bill. Two things. It's interesting that they are now finally dealing with the aftermath of that affair. And then I also want to talk about Bill during these fights, because that man made me cackle the way he would just stand there and like watch his wife get ripped apart. And he was just like, like, I think it was wrong. Don't get me wrong. If it was my husband, I would kill him for not defending me. But watching it as a viewer, it was actually kind of amusing, because I'm like, are you not going to say anything? And it's interesting because Joe gets called a bitch boy for getting in woman's business. But if I have a bunch of people attacking me, like, I want my husband.
Yeah.
I love that Bill was the embodiment of that Homer Simpson gif. Like,
he was just like,
there's a way to stick up for your wife without, oh my God, wait, Lauren's actually perfect for that because her background. But there's a way to stick up for your wife and to be like, guys, like, let's cut it off. Like, this is not healthy, whatever, like, let's move on. And then there's the Joe Gorga way, which is to like be the extra housewife cast member. Right?
But I also feel like if other men are involved, like, it's one thing if you're standing there and it's all the women, but the minute another man gets involved in that, as Joe was, then I want my husband involved in that as well.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think there's just a way he could have gone about it. And like, I feel like this season was the demise of Bill Aiden in so many ways. Number one, with the rumor coming out. And I feel like at that point, he's like just shocked and he doesn't know which way to turn, because he's been pretty likable up until this season, let's be real. And I think he just doesn't know how to go about it. Like, do I get involved? Do I make things worse for myself? Like, I think he's probably in damage control mode. And unfortunately, being silent is not damage control, as we all know, is this day and age. It's just making it worse for yourself.
Yeah, I think he saw how ridiculous the men look getting involved in these fights on screen, and he's like, I'm not doing that. So I'll give him that leeway.
I give him that, and I give him that. I think that it could be easy for him to like want to like stand in the bush and be like, Mom, take care of it, because the little Gorgas are so little that when Jen was talking to him, he thought, oh, it's the children. And so that's why he doesn't want to, he's afraid he'll have to, or really
it could
scold
be that,
Baby Joe.
Or it could be that he's really honest about what this production is about and understands that everybody's just putting on an act, and he's just in the wings watching everybody go crazy. Like, no, it's just a play.
Yeah,
you know
I
what?
think there's some of that as well.
You know what? Can I say something just quickly? I know we're gonna get to that. I know Bill is the hot mess this season. He's like the hot mess. And I won't even give him like flowers, because I remember season 1, Bill was not cool. he was not cool with the shits. He didn't want Jen to do anything. And then I feel like I don't know what was set off camera. And then he was like, okay, I'm going to lighten up and like let the people love me. I think this is Jen's thing. And he's finally letting her have it. This is what she wanted. She did that tweet. But on the husbands, can we just talk about how Frank admitted to having massage parlors and they left it on film?
Yes. Yes. Let's end on the Frank of it. Did anyone else have anything to say about Bill though, before we?
No, he was really inconsequential. He fucked somebody else 10 years ago and didn't need to do anything else.
Do we think that that's the only affair? Because like when we do, I was gonna say if we do take it to the immigrant side of things, but let's admit it, American men do it too. But there is definitely more of it's just what men do. They have affairs on the side. You just respect your wife. I think it's definitely
I don't think it's just men. I really don't. I think as a married person, people have affairs all the time. I think sometimes you get to keep the secret. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get busted. Do I think maybe that insurance or the pharmaceutical person is could she possibly be not the only one? Maybe. But I think that a lot of people think that ignorance is so much bliss. So I think that if it's not out there, it maybe didn't happen. And I feel like you can't even, I think when you're in it, you can't be like, I wonder if this has happened. I just don't think you can.
I can, right.
No, and it makes a lot of sense why Jen, that first season, kept going to his office in the middle of the day to bring him lunch. No, and
I do think that affairs happen both sides of things. Absolutely. What I was trying to get at more is I do think like, especially internationally, well, let me just speak to my culture, to Afrikaan over in Liberia, where it's just like kind of known that the men have girlfriends. And it's like, you don't really talk about it. And as long as you don't bring it to you, as long as you don't publicly disrespect your wives, that kind of like ignorance is bliss, even though it's not really ignorance because the wives usually
knows about it.
The wives know. They're just like, as long as you don't publicly embarrass me. I think that in a lot of cultures internationally, it's a little bit more accepted, because even though affairs still happen here in America, women will put on the facade like they're super upset about it, even though they stay with them. So don't get me started on that. But I think like internationally, a lot of times with those cultures, it's like, okay, it's just kind of a thing. So I think that, and I think that's also part of why I could see in their relationship, A, why she forgave it, because she was also pregnant and all of that.
Right.
But B, also I could see why he would think it was a big deal, but not a big deal, you know? Like
that's why she didn't even tell her mom, because she
because she knew it was a big deal. And and that's the thing. It's like, if you're not telling people the bad things that are happening in your relationship, it's because you both know it's bad.
Well, and also in those cultures, you don't talk about stuff outside of your home. Like, that's your house business. You don't tell people. And
because what was Jen's mother going to tell her? Well,
to stay. She would have said, "No, that's just what men do.
Men do.
That's
just turn your eyes and don't." But I think Jen did handle it correctly by bombing him in Miami. That's what, I think at one point she's like, no, you're not going to fucking cheat on me. I just had all these. And I think it is harder for a woman who has 5 babies to cheat on a man. So I think that's where the discrepancy comes in. Whereas there are more men who cheat, and maybe women cheat after the kids are older.
Right.
That's another thing. But I've never trusted Frank, because he did cheat on her.
He cheated on her when she was pregnant. Yes.
And kept
people
on
who say they should be
hoes
together
in and out of his life. So I don't understand this Frank love in any way, space, or manner. The fact that he is best friends with her boyfriend, even though he knows her boyfriend treats her like shit.
And why can't he house?
What? And you live with him? I'm sorry. I wasn't a David fan either. I'm like, Dolores is amazing and is banging.
Yeah. I didn't hate David. I don't think he necessarily treated her like crap, but
I think that, and this is no shade to Dolores, okay? Dolores is great and everyone loves her. But Dolores, it's a different Dolores in a relationship. You can tell by the people that she dates. I don't think you really get the full Dolores. And that's it, point blank, period.
I agree. And that's why I've always been like I like Dolores, but the sainthood of Dolores is a little much for me. Kind of like everyone loving Frank.
There it is.
Like it's a little much. You guys are forgetting she's a real person. She is to a lot of
never
people.
a saint.
To a lot of
Here's
people.
the thing. Okay, but
not to me. I remember that fight with Danielle.
I always like to premise this for people like my opinions. I hate all of these wives. I hate them and love them equally. I don't. I think they are all hot garbage that should be burned at the back of the Sir alley. All the women that come on all of these shows that are all hot garbage until proven otherwise.
Right.
And let's not forget, Dolores was a motherfucking prison guard. So you know how I feel about cops, ACAB all day. So let's not think that she's like a great person anyway. I mean, in the sense that
I didn't even know she was a corrections officer.
She was.
That's what I'm saying. Like, people like to forget, and they just like to see her as a saint.
I think it's very interesting that she has this new boyfriend that doesn't give a fuck about Frank, and Frank don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
with Frank,
fabulous.
It's more of a control thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he liked David. I think David looked up to Frank as
Yes.
And their kids aren't close with Frank. That says a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
I just
he was moving home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't want my exes to be friends. I don't even want to know that they even exist.
Well,
I just want to know
like
why
Kalyndee was saying,
Frank
like the fact that
around?
his own kids aren't that close to him.
Why
I
is
just think
Frank around?
I just think it's interesting. Frank's around because the cameras are around. Frank's around because people love him on TV. Frank's around because he's getting women in his DMs. That's why Frank's around. Like, so everyone's like, oh, they should get back together. I'm like, what is wrong with people?
Never.
What is
ever.
wrong with you people?
No, he's punch holes and walls. You already know.
No, and this whole wolf pack situation, what the fuck is that? No, get the fuck out of here. Y'all, no, they're not.
I mean, I will say they are entertaining to watch the men together.
No,
I do enjoy them.
Yeah.
They are
I would love to see an ultimate, you know how they're doing all those ultimate trips? I want the guys. I want to see like Mauricio and PK with like the Jersey guys.
Yeah.
I think it would
be
fun
high
to watch
as
them on a
fuck
trip.
the whole time and just
Okay,
so
it'd be Mauricio and PK.
Yep.
It would be
Frank and Joe.
Frank and Joe from Jersey.
Because they're entertaining.
From Atlanta, it'd have to be Todd and I think Sanya's husband.
Oh,
he seems fun.
Husband.
Yeah. Yeah, because there isn't really anyone else in there.
Right.
Peter. We can bring back Peter.
Well, Peter's already trying to get on all the housewives.
Peter will be with Potomac.
Potomac, yeah.
Peter with Giselle and maybe Juan.
Who would we
Even
do?
though I'd hope for Chris Bassett as well.
I like Chris. Who would we do for Potomac? Yeah, Chris. I would do Chris.
Chris and Peter, since that's who Giselle supposedly, allegedly
I don't
is
believe.
with.
I don't
believe that one.
You know she loves the bald chocolate man. Stop playing with her.
You know what though? I actually would want Juan and Michael. I know we don't like Michael.
No, Michael is a
he's
goddamn predator.
That's what I was gonna say. They were not
no predators allowed. No predators allowed.
You don't want to see him flirting with Juan?
Fuck no.
You don't want to see him getting drunk?
Fuck no. I want to see that Gollum fall into the lake, the river of fire, going after his precious. Michael Darby should never be allowed on TV again.
Yeah, that's true.
And I am not an Ashley fan. What?
Anyone from Salt Lake City?
Maybe
the coach?
Coach.
No, Coach is lame. Seth is ridiculous.
We'd have to have two. So we'd have to have Seth and we'd put Coach.
No, I don't know who.
Maybe John. I like John Barlow. I'm a John Barlow fan.
No,
okay. OC. We'd have Terry, and we'd have
bring back Don Gunvalson.
Yeah.
Yes, I love Don. Yeah.
Justice for Don.
I want them to do an ultimate trip with the guy. Honestly, I'd be fine with just PK, Mauricio, Joe, and Joe. Like we don't need two from.
I don't think they need a Peacock show. They'll be fine with a YouTube release.
Yeah, it's just like a mini series somewhere, like an IGTV mini series. That'd be fun.
I mean,
wait, but isn't Mauricio and PK shooting? Wait, aren't Mauricio and PK shooting a show about the agency in London right now?
I thought so.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I
think I think they are.
That should be interesting.
I also do think I like them as like side characters. I do think that it messes with their mentality a little bit when they become main characters. Like some people are good just being fun, anecdotal side characters who pop in and we enjoy them because sometimes we see it, right? Like we like them in little bursts, but once you get more of them, you don't like them once you see the full picture.
have a really big, it's just a thorn on my side, how much airtime the Jersey house husbands are given and what they show on that airtime.
Yeah.
They talk about the women's business like it's a foreign language. They talk about their dicks so much that clearly they're tiny whinies because especially little Gorga, because you don't have to talk about it that much.
Yeah.
I call it short guy syndrome in Jersey because they're so short, they have to make up for it. It's like an ego thing. And that's why, again, as I said before, and I'm not sticking up for them, I'm just saying like, this is why it is.
Yeah.
But as we mentioned before, like it's a different peak into different cultures and that would not work anywhere else. But I agree with you. It's kind of like at some point it's
can't be
you throw Joe Gorga into East Oakland, he will never make it 2 blocks.
Well, I can't tell you guys how much I have enjoyed this early morning chat about Jersey. I know it's not always easy. We're recording this on a Sunday morning, but I love you guys for tuning in. I love these conversations. Bravo is just like pounding out these shows, so I don't even know what the next one. I don't know. Is anybody watching Kalyndee and the Gang?
I gotta catch up. I was, but I fell off the way.
I watched the first couple of episodes, and I
love it.
And it's so funny because I used to run a restaurant in one of my lifetimes ago, and these hostesses at the front would be the bane of my existence.
Yeah.
I loved them so much, but they were so bad at their jobs, and I just wanted to choke them.
Yep.
But I love them. I love everybody.
I'm definitely going to. We'll see if I might do a recap of that because I have enjoyed the season, if not for any other reason than to talk about Aunt Bertha for a little while because I live for that woman. She is amazing.
She's great.
She's so wonderful.
So was Philip, it was hard, it was like a love. Hey, we'll do an episode and we'll do an episode and we'll talk about them. But can I ask you one final question on Jersey before we get out of here?
Please do.
What are your thoughts on Jackie being demoted to friend?
I personally think that I think she's good for the show and I wish she wasn't, but I also think because of her eating disorder, for her mentality and for her health, I think it's a smart choice. Yeah,
I agree.
I just won't believe it until it comes out of Bravo's mouth. That's how I work with all these rumors. That's how I always will be. And then I'll give a comment on it once it's
even demoted to friend because Adriana was a friend of Miami and she was on like every episode. So what does demoted to friend mean?
You never even saw the difference. But to her point, it's like Jackie was going through something really fucking serious, really serious. And the show is not worth her health. The show is not worth how her children could be affected by seeing their mother go through this. And it's really interesting because one of the things Crystal Minkoff had said that I really latched onto and that I never realized, she goes, I didn't even know how to have an eating disorder until someone told me about it. Which is really freaking weird because she mentioned that in one of the shows. She goes, somebody came to our class and talked to us and how they did it. And that's where I got the idea to start. And it's just, a weird thing. Yeah. Because she says it on the show. So there's that line between bringing awareness to an issue, to a problem, to make sure that people know that they can get over it. And unconsciously also giving somebody that
platform.
When I was younger,
I just wanted Jackie to have a healthy relationship with food so she can have a healthy relationship with her family.
Yeah.
Period.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we'll see what Jersey brings us next year. I heard they're like auditioning like 3 women right now. I'm all about cast shakeups. I know some people want people to be on there forever. I truly don't, because I think it's good to have new blood. I think it's good to have new storylines. Even the people who I love, like I'm okay with them leaving. Like it's been 12 seasons.
They
can say goodbye.
Yeah. They can visit.
Yeah.
I keep telling you. It's like Menudo. We got to keep going through them or else we would have never gotten Ricky Martin.
There should be like a 5-year cap because also like how real can you be when you have that much of your life on TV, because you're going through the scenes, and then you're also reliving them as everyone watches them and giving their opinions on social media. Then you're reliving them again at the reunion when you record. Then you're reliving them again when everyone's recording at the reunion.
Yeah.
So no matter if it's a tiny fight, that's at least 4 times you have to emotionally go through it. And your body, when it comes to trauma, it doesn't know if it's dealing with trauma the first time or if it's dealing with you remembering.
Right.
So you're putting yourself through that,
true.
and you can't keep it real. So I feel like there should be a cap on how long any of them are on there.
Yeah.
But that's just
Wow. I love
I've
that.
enjoyed this conversation, and you guys are the best. I'm sure we will see you all again. But tell everybody again where to find you, and I'll include all of your links in the captions.
So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Diana Jebbia. Jebbia is Gebbia, and I'm also the host of the Believe in Bravo Besties podcast. Would love to have everyone on in this group one day because we all have fun together.
Yeah.
I'm Nela over at Fix My Life podcast. I'm your tarot reader by night, business consultant by day. So come on, see me on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific for a free tarot reading.
Or 9 Eastern.
9 Eastern, 3 p.m. Hawaiian time.
Oh,
Nobody
cool.
ever remembers our Hawaiian people.
Okay.
From Housewives Heretics, listen to our podcast anywhere, and you can find me on Instagram at Kalyndee.
Okay, I'm Lauren. You can find me on Instagram at something simple, LJ4321, and TikTok, Lauren_Isa_magic.
Perfect. And thank you all so much for those who have watched, or if you're listening, because this is available on podcast format as well. And tune in next time as I talk about other things. Have a great day.
Bye.
Baby, you just kick your feet up while I kick back. I roll one with you by my side.